Think all bridges are just boring slabs of concrete? Think again. Some of them will make your heart race just looking at them, while others are so stunning, they'll leave you wondering how humans even built them in the first place. From dizzying heights to mind-bending designs, these aren't your typical morning commute flyovers. We've handpicked the wildest, weirdest, and most jaw-dropping bridges on the planet. So here's a question. Would you dare to cross them? Or just admire from a very safe distance? Either way, buckle up, because what you're about to see isn't just a tour of epic engineering, it's a thrill ride with no seatbelt. Let's dive in. Whoever said bridges had to be boring never saw this one. In Uruguay, they turned a simple river crossing into a work of art. A perfectly circular bridge that looks like a giant floating ring. But don't be fooled. This isn't just about aesthetics. The unique shape was designed to keep traffic flowing safely in opposite directions, while naturally forcing drivers to slow down and take in the stunning coastal views. No roundabout, no turns, just one smooth curve of elegance and engineering genius. Would you cruise across it or stop to snap a pic? Forget everything you know about bridges. This one's for boats, not cars. The Strepieux boat lift in Belgium is like a floating elevator on steroids. Spanning nearly 500 meters, it doesn't just carry water, it hauls over 880,000 tons. Of it between two canals like it's no big deal. With 65,000 tons of concrete holding it all together, the structure blends so perfectly into the countryside, you might miss it entirely. Until you see a giant ship rising straight out of the ground. At first, you might think it's just another sleek Scandinavian bridge, but wait until it starts moving. In the heart of Copenhagen, this pedestrian and cyclist bridge hides a surprise. It splits into multiple segments and lifts like a perfectly choreographed machine just to let ships pass through the harbor. It's like the city pressed pause on your walk and hit play on an engineering dance. Would you stop and watch or race across before it opens? Either way, it turns a simple crossing into a moment you won't forget. Ever watched the ground split beneath your feet and just kept walking? That's what it feels like on one of London's legendary lifting bridges. One moment, it's a solid path. The next, it opens like a giant mechanical jaw, letting boats glide through as if part of a magic trick. Tourists freeze, locals barely blink, but every time, it's a show worth catching. Got your phone ready? Because when that steel giant starts to rise, trust me, you'll want to capture the moment. Would you walk across it mid-lift or just cheer from the side? Some bridges get you from one place to another. This one grabs your attention and never lets go. Vietnam's Golden Bridge looks like it's being held up by two giant stone hands rising straight out of the mountain. It's only 150 meters long, but that's all it takes to leave visitors speechless. Those hands don't actually support anything. They're just there to blow your mind, and they've done their job well. Since the bridge opened, the area's tourism has exploded. So, would you walk across or stop every 5 steps just to take another photo? Ever driven on a bridge so tight it feels like a game of chicken with oncoming traffic? Welcome to the Brookport Bridge, where history meets heart-pounding nerves. Built back in 1929, this steel relic once stood tall as a marvel of its time. But today? Let's just say it's not exactly truck-friendly. Its narrow lanes and metal-grated surface make every crossing feel like a test of patience and tire grip. Commercial vehicles? Not a chance. And with opposing traffic so close you could high-five the car beside you, it's less of a drive and more of an adrenaline challenge. Would you dare cross it? Let us know if your knuckles wouldn't be too white to type. When a bridge looks like it belongs in an amusement park, you know it's not just about getting from point A to B, it's about the ride itself. This eye-catching structure in Japan was designed with tourists in mind, letting drivers cruise at a relaxed 40-km/h while soaking in postcard-worthy views. And here's the kicker, it's been doing this since 1982. A thrill ride and a time machine all in one. Would you take the slow scenic route or hit the gas and feel the slope? Now here's a bridge that's literally written in your DNA. Welcome to Singapore's Helix Bridge. This pedestrian masterpiece doesn't just get you from point A to point B, it takes you on a stroll through science. Modeled after the double, helix structure of human DNA, it wraps around you with a futuristic twist and offers breathtaking views of the skyline and waterfront. But wait till night falls. That's when it really comes alive. The bridge lights up with glowing letters C, G, A, and T, color-coded in red and green, representing the 4 building blocks of life itself. Who knew crossing a bridge could feel like stepping inside a biology textbook with mood lighting? Think your fear of heights can handle the world's longest suspension bridge? Meet Sky Bridge 721 in the Czech Republic, a jaw-dropping 721 meters of pure thrill suspended high above a mountain valley. Just walking across feels like stepping into the clouds and the swaying. Yeah, that's part of the fun. Your heart might race the entire way, but the views? Absolutely unbeatable. It's one of those once-in-a-lifetime experiences where fear and wonder collide with every step. Would you brave it or turn back after the first few wobbles? It's like China looked at all the world's bridges and said, let's make one that twists reality. The Ruyi Bridge doesn't break records in size, but in style? Absolutely. With its 2 winding, interwoven walkways and a glass bottom section that dares you to look down, this architectural marvel feels more like an art installation you can walk on. It's bold, bizarre, and totally unforgettable. Would you take a stroll across this spiraling masterpiece, or just admire it? From a safe distance? This might just be the wildest road trip you'll ever take. Japan's Eshima Ohashi Bridge looks like something straight out of a roller coaster park. From the side, it seems to shoot straight into the sky, like your car is about to defy gravity. But here's the twist. The terrifying incline is mostly optical illusion. The gaps in the structure play tricks on your eyes, making it seem way steeper than it actually is. Still, locals lovingly call it beta boomy, or pedal to the metal hill, because if you don't hit the gas just right, you might not make the climb. Would you dare to drive this gravity-defying beast? Let us know in the comments. High above the rugged hills of Myanmar stretches a bridge so daring, so delicate-looking, it feels like a relic from a dream, or a dare. The Go-Take Viaduct, yes, not goat's egg, blame the spell check, was once the longest railway trestle on Earth. Built back in 1899 under British colonial rule, this steel skeleton stretches 689 meters across and rises 102 meters into the sky. And it still carries trains today, just very slowly. Why? Because it's old. Really old. And every creak and groan of the tracks reminds you just how high up you are. Imagine looking down from your seat and seeing nothing but a deep, misty gorge. Would you stare, snap a pic, or squeeze your eyes shut and hope for the best? At first glance, the Puxi Bridge in Shanghai might look like just another highway crossing, but then you see it, that hypnotic spiral. It's not just a bridge, it's a masterpiece of motion, twisting effortlessly into a jaw-dropping interchange. That looks more like a sci-fi portal than city infrastructure. Locals call it the Spiral Bridge, and once the city lights kick in at night, it transforms into pure visual poetry. Cars glide through its curves like marbles on a track, and it's easy to see why it's hailed as one of the most beautiful bridges on Earth. Would you drive it just for the view, or pull over just to watch? Now, this isn't just a bridge, it's a sky-high statement. The Millau viaduct in France doesn't just connect mountains, it floats above them. Opened in 2004, it still holds the record as the tallest bridge on Earth. One of its soaring pylons reaches a staggering 343 meters. That's taller than the Eiffel Tower by 19 meters. Stretching 2,460 meters across the Tarn Valley, this isn't just a way to get from point A to point B. It's a drive through the clouds. Imagine cruising across it with nothing but open sky on all sides. Would you feel free or freeze from the height? If you've ever wanted to feel like you're walking on air, literally, China's Zhangjiajie Glass Bridge is your chance. Suspended 300 meters above a jaw-dropping canyon in the national park that inspired Avatar, this 430-meter-long glass-bottomed wonder dares you to look down. And when you do, it's both magical and mildly terrifying. Your footsteps echo across crystal-clear panels with nothing but open sky beneath. Oh, and if walking across isn't enough of a thrill, there's a bungee platform here too, with a 300-meter free fall. Yeah, it's the highest in the world. So, Would you take that first step or cling to the rail and rethink your life choices? Let us know. We're curious who's brave and who's bluffing. Leave it to Denmark to turn even a pedestrian bridge into a piece of moving art. The Circle Bridge doesn't just help you cross the water. It tells a story, one inspired by the sails of passing boats. Instead of one long walkway, it's made up of circular platforms that feel more like floating islands. And here's the twist. It's not just for people. Need to pass through on a boat? Small ones glide under with ease, while larger vessels get a VIP treatment. The center section simply slides out of the way. Even cooler, ship captains can operate it themselves. Now that's what you call smooth sailing. Now here's a bridge that doesn't just stand the test of time, it dominates it. The Gulch Viaduct in Germany isn't just big, it's the largest brick viaduct on Earth. And with over 26 million bricks stacked into its massive arches, it's safe to say no one's beating that record anytime soon. Opened way back in 1851, it's still in action today, carrying high-speed trains between Dresden and Nuremberg like it's no big deal. Imagine building something that strong, that beautiful, and having it still running after 170 years. Now that's brick power. You're cruising along a bridge, sun above, sea below, when suddenly the road vanishes, straight into the ocean. Welcome to the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel in Virginia, where the highway doesn't just cross the water, it dives right through it. Spanning over 28 kilometers, this jaw-dropping marvel combines sweeping bridges, long causeways, and not one but two underwater tunnels. Cars dip beneath the surface while massive ships sail silently overhead. It's part road, part submarine. Experience, and easily one of the most surreal drives on Earth. Would you brave the plunge or hit the brakes when the sea swallows your lane? Ropes, 472 wooden planks, and a whole lot of courage. That's all that stands between you and a very long drop at Pakistan's infamous Husseini Bridge. This isn't your average crossing. It sways, it creaks. And the gaps between the planks? Let's just say they'll test your survival instincts. Some call it half-finished, others call it half-insane. But there's a reason for the sparse design. It reduces the sail effect, helping the bridge stand firm against the fierce winds that tear through this region. Still, one wrong step and you're one gust away from a free fall. So, would you dare to cross it? Or would your legs give out just looking at it? Mount Hua doesn't just offer a hike. It dares you to dance with death. Clinging to the cliffside, thousands of feet above the ground, lies the infamous plank walk of death. And yes, that's the official nickname. With nothing but a few wooden boards bolted into the rock and a safety harness clipped to a chain, you're left balancing over a vertical drop that could make your knees buckle just by looking down. No railings, no guardrails, just you, gravity, and your sense of balance. Still, adrenaline junkies from all over line up for the chance to walk this terrifying trail. Would you test your nerve, or are your palms already sweating just hearing about it? Some bridges test your nerves. This one tests your will to live. The Vidym Bridge in Russia isn't just dangerous. It's a straight-up dare. Narrow, icy, with no guardrails and barely wide enough for a car, this wooden death trap stretches over the freezing Vidym River, and yet thrill-seekers still attempt to cross it. And here's the wild part. Traffic was officially banned in 2016 after chunks of the bridge were taken out by ice flows. Still, trucks rumble across it, tires inches from disaster, relying purely on guts, grip, and maybe a quick prayer. Would you take the wheel, or are you keeping both feet on solid ground? Now this one will bend your brain. Instead of building a bridge over water, imagine making the water flow right over the bridge. That's the mind-blowing twist behind the Oresund Bridge, the 16-kilometer marvel that links Denmark and Sweden in one seamless sweep of steel, concrete, and sheer ambition. It's not just a bridge, it's a tunnel too. For the first few kilometers, you're underwater, cruising through a submerged tunnel before bursting out onto an open-air bridge that carries both cars and trains. It's the longest road and rail bridge in Europe and easily one of the most cinematic. Honestly, how do you even engineer something like that? Imagine crossing a river, not by boat, not by regular bridge, but by a flying gondola suspended in mid-air. Welcome to the Vizcaya Bridge in Spain, a mind-blowing piece of 19th century engineering that's still turning heads today. Built in 1893, this was the world's first transporter bridge, and it's anything but ordinary. A steel giant standing 45 meters tall with a 160-meter central span, it carries cars and passengers on a gondola that glides across the river in just 90 seconds. No traffic jams, no honking, just smooth sailing 24 hours a day, moving nearly 6 million people a year. Who needs a ferry when your bridge floats you across like a scene from a sci-fi movie? Perched 2,700 meters above sea level and clinging to the edge of a glacier, the Dachstein Bridge in Austria isn't just a crossing. It's an experience. This 100-meter-long marvel floats above a world of ice and sky, where every step feels like walking through the clouds. But here's the twist. You don't drive to it. You fly. Well, almost. A cable car lifts you straight into the Alps. Just one word of advice: check the weather before you go. One moment it's a postcard view, the next you're standing in a whiteout wondering where the mountains went. Still, would you risk the fog for that view? If your fear of heights ever needed a final exam, this might be it. The AI Petrie Bridge in Crimea dangles 1,234 meters above the ground, swaying gently, with only some cables and wooden planks between you and the abyss. It's less of a walk, and more of a balancing act. One strong gust of wind, and you'll be rethinking every life choice that led you here. Would you trust those planks? Or your adrenaline-fueled reflexes? Now this one will bend your brain. Instead of building a bridge over water, imagine making the water flow right over the bridge. That's the mind-blowing twist behind the Oresund Bridge, the 16-kilometer marvel that links Denmark and Sweden in one seamless sweep of steel, concrete, and sheer ambition. It's not just a bridge, it's a tunnel too. For the first few kilometers, you're underwater, cruising through a submerged tunnel before bursting out onto an open-air bridge that carries both cars and trains. It's the longest road and rail bridge in Europe and easily one of the most cinematic. Honestly, how do you even engineer something like that? This is your friendly reminder. Bridges aren't invincible, and weight limits exist for a reason. One bus recently pushed the limit, literally. It crossed a bridge while way over the allowed weight. Fortunately, disaster was avoided. This time. But it's a close call no one wants to repeat. Can you imagine being on that bridge, hearing it creak under the pressure? Yeah, not the kind of thrill anyone signs up for. Most bridges lift, some swing, but this one, it tilts. Welcome to the Millennium Bridge in northern England, the world's first ever tilting bridge. Not lifting like a drawbridge, not rotating like a turntable. This marvel literally rolls, back like a giant mechanical eyelid to let boats glide through. It's futuristic, elegant, and kind of hypnotic to watch. But here's the wild part. While it's designed to be completely off-limits to pedestrians during the tilt, one thrill seeker once tried to cross it mid-move. Yeah, not recommended. If you've ever wished a bridge could just levitate out of your way, well, the Dutch made it happen. Meet the Slauerhof Bridge, or as locals like to call it, the Flying Drawbridge. And yes, it really does fly, sort of. Instead of splitting in half or swinging open like most drawbridges, this one just lifts a giant chunk of roadway straight into the air, almost like a sci-fi platform rising for takeoff. It's fast, smooth, and strangely satisfying to watch. And every time it happens, you can't help but wonder, why don't more bridges do this? What if a bridge could tell stories of merchants, royalty, and centuries of glittering gold? Welcome to Florence's Ponte Vecchio, where history isn't just etched in stone, it's displayed behind shop windows. Built in 1345 and still standing. Strong, this isn't just a crossing, it's a living marketplace suspended over the Arno River. Once filled with butchers and traders, it became the Golden Bridge in the 16th century, now home to jewelry stores that sparkle with the past. Ever walked across a bridge that doubles as a time machine? Now's your chance. Think making roads wider will solve traffic jams? Think again. The Beijing-Shanghai freeway is living proof that more lanes don't always mean smoother flow. This beast of a highway stretches out to a jaw-dropping 50 lanes in some parts, and yet it still turns into a parking lot, especially during peak travel like Chinese New Year. Originally built for 20,000 vehicles a day, it was already choking on 40,000 daily by 2007. So the question is, When a 50-lane highway can't keep up, what can? Ever been stuck in a traffic jam so long you could have walked faster? Share your worst traffic nightmare? We know you've got one. Living under a bridge sounds like a last resort, right? But what if I told you there's a village in China that turned that idea on its head, literally, and made it a masterpiece? Instead of seeing the underside of a bridge as a dead space, they built on top of it. A 400-meter-long housing complex, perched right on the structure, blending classic Chinese charm with European flair. It's part apartment, part artwork, and all kinds of genius. Would you live above traffic if it meant waking up to views like that? Drop your answer in the comments, because this isn't just clever. It's the kind of creative twist that makes you rethink what's possible.